YouTube, so it's going to prepare. Zoom is passing on the links to YouTube, so YouTube can set up the live stream where I don't have to go out and later on make any additions. I don't have to bother to pursue any uploads. Easy peasy. Okay, so we got that done. I have my 2Cs here. So let me share my screen. Hopefully I can share my screen. And you should be able, if I go on to my Chrome, you should be able to see what? What do you see, Catherine?
The YouTube live stream.
Okay, I have the YouTube live stream, and I know I'm going to take a sip of my water, and it takes a while until you see me in YouTube taking a sip of my water. It is quite delayed. If you were doing live trading, it would not be a good idea. Follow me. You'd be losing. I'm not sure if you would be following me, you'd be winning either, but my recommendations, it takes quite a while. Okay, so we know we have this. I go to my content. I'm in the regular session. And of course, I'm going to what? I go to my what's due section as usual. And my what's due section today is March 2nd. Can you believe we're in another month together where you had your AI-powered research assistant reflection group, you had your PowerPoints, exam 1, review guide. Here was the article you needed to read. And then this was due your assignment, your group assignment should have been turned in before this class. Then you see Wednesday, March 1st. How many times have I emphasized it, Sienna? Many times, right? That it is in person. We meet in person in the School of Business, room 204. So Sienna, you know where that is? You ever been
Is
there?
it? I don't think so. Is it in like the Rusty building?
Okay, it's in the other one right next to it. So what I
Stubblefield?
suggest to everyone, and you too, Sienna, I don't like to add additional stress. Instead of roaming around, I suggest today, after the classes, go and find it. You understand, Sienna? So that way you know where it is, relax, you see where it is. You need to have your ID in order to enter. Everybody understand that? You got it, Hunter? So go to SBA. If you don't know where it is, go to SBA today. Make sure you know where it is, that you're not roaming around. Because if you look at it, you need to bring a form of an ID. I think you should bring your cane card so then also that you can get into the room because it's locked. And also you need to bring your laptop as well. Make sure it has an updated version of respondents. We've talked about it. And this is the case. I am going to try to be this class is supposed to be at 3:35. And if you see that, Catherine, what time is it now?
3:41.
Right. We have already been working on it already more than 5 minutes on the exam. So until everybody gets in here, Catherine, you know how it is. I am going to try to start the exam promptly at 3:35. So that means you need to arrive. So the time clock will be ticking at 3:35. So if you come in at 3:45, you've already lost 10 minutes. And even if you've requested extra time, you've lost 10 minutes from that. So this way, why bother? Stuff happens, right, Sienna? Stuff happens. Why stress yourself more? Today you go over there, and it doesn't matter. You can go in the evening. You say I have a next class or whatever. Just go and find the lab. Know how long it takes you from your previous class, and you're there sitting promptly. And in the 10 minutes while you're sitting, you're going to be able to log in, and you'll be able to log into Blackboard on the school's computer, make sure it works. And if by chance, guess what? If by chance, Sienna, it's not working, that computer will move to another computer. And if not, what? You have your laptop that you can get into your laptop, and there won't be any excuses why we can't do it. One thing we know for sure in this, in being with me, whenever we deal with technologies, there's always possibility of issues that I create on my own, issues that are beyond my control. So we basically take all the controls, just like security. Sienna, you remember security when we talk about, we know we want to mitigate risk, we want to mitigate the risk, so we want to have controls for backup purposes. Any questions on that? Anything, Sienna, in the lab? So if I go to the review guide, you see I've talked about the exact same thing here. I talked about the laptop here. I talked about that it's two parts, like you did, Sienna. The Quizlet's a multiple choice, very similar to the quizzes, adaptive assignments that you've done. And the other part of the test is open-ended 3 questions. So you see here of chapter 1 that I've covered, right, where you need to know these plus how you would apply these, what's the difference between data, information, and knowledge versus the hardware versus the software, data governance, types of security. And these, Santa, as we went over, these are the open-ended questions. So for instance, if I take, for instance, number 2, it says, according to the Sentinel-1 article, define cybersecurity frameworks, discuss how they guide security strategies in university and information institution. And when I talk about explaining, Sienna, it says here, describe at least 2 specific frameworks and explain why they are important for managing risk and insurance compliance. And here, this is about Zoom. Here it's about data management. Again, on data management in this university student class database, why the primary key is important. This one, for instance, on data governance. So what do you need to do, Sienna, is you have to define what data governance means and why it's essential for protecting student research data, and explain the 2 process for accessing university students. You know that when you enter the university network, they have a 2-step process. You have to define authentication, you have to define authorization, and define the principle of least privilege. And here again, when you ask for examples, provide 2 examples of how the principle, basically this is the principle of least privilege, works in practice to protect sensitive information. For each example, briefly state the potential negative consequence if the rule is not broken. Here you need to figure out what is it, what do we mean by a threat? What do we mean by exposure? What do we mean by vulnerability? Compare what we mean by risk management and risk analysis. Since we have risk all the time, what do we probably want to do is analyze how much risk there is and manage it. And again, you see that Sienna provide at least 2 specific examples from a university setting to illustrate these concepts in their application. Basically, what is a threat in a university? What is a threat what's an exposure? What's a vulnerability? How would a university, right, deal with risk management, risk analysis? Here, this is about AI-powered research assistants. We used Notebook LM. This has to do a lot with your group, and discuss what you believe is the single most pressing risk or ethical concern associated with the rise. So a lot of these, Sienna, besides just kind of memorizing it, you need to understand it, because if you understand it, then it's easy to write about, right, Sienna? If you have no clue, you're like, you have all that, look, this is a lot to memorize, right? So, but if you understand it, it's not. And then why are colleges considered high value? Define ransomware, Why is ransomware especially important? And according to the Sentinel number 9 is what does it mean? Best practice is like zero trust. Zero trust is basically, I don't trust anyone, right? I want to prove it, right? Even the most friendliest person, right? We want to make sure that we continually monitor, be aware of what's happening, and in higher education environments, what should they be doing? So, any questions about these open-ended questions? So, Travis, did you look at those questions?
Oh yeah, I reviewed the whole study guide.
Can you, I just didn't hear you. Can you?
Oh yes, I reviewed the whole study guide.
Okay. And which, what were your favorite questions on the open-ended?
I'm not sure what my favorite was, but I remember one that I told myself to remember was like the cybersecurity one from the
Which
article,
one?
because I thought like the one with like the cybersecurity frameworks. I thought that was kind
Mhm.
of difficult for me to fully understand because I had to know like the specific framework examples. So I thought that was kind of difficult for the
Yeah,
open-ended.
right. So why would we use, let's even take that one, Travis, because that'll be good for us to discuss. Why do people even need these frameworks? What were they based on? What was the incentive for anyone to create those frameworks and why use them, you think?
I think it like some of them are different. Like the ISO one was like continuous improvement, and like the NIST one was like to detect, like respond to, and like exactly how to like um protect yourself from these like threats and address them. So I think it's just different ways of going about that, and it's necessary to ensure that like um you're just like protected from those things.
Okay. Let's step back one point. And how I want you to approach these questions is really understanding the essence, not only what is NIST and what is going to be the FERPA and the initials, but why even use it? If we're an organization, and a lot of organizations, they're called enterprises. What what are we most attached to? What enterprise are we most attached to, Travis?
Oh, U Miami, which is a college and like a
Yeah,
very big
right. It's the
target.
university, right? And the university has basically, they're using, they're a digital university, right? They have they have a network that everybody goes onto their network. So what basic bottom line is, and they have data. Bottom line, they are vulnerable. Everybody agree with me on that? If I'm, if especially if I have anything digital, right? If I if I'm going to the internet, I have the entire campus entering my network. I don't know who's coming into my house. And just even think about your house, even if it weren't digital, right? I have to assess how vulnerable my house is to break-ins versus the ease of, maybe I won't lock my door. It's easy for me, right? Or maybe I'll lock my front door, but I'll hide a key under a pot, or maybe my back door will be left unlocked, right? And I have to take precautions to tell. So what universities do is they need to get guidance. They are not even in the business, the university, of being a security company. They're not a security company. What are they? They're in education and they teach. They have a hospital, they have a law school, they have a business school, but their business isn't even security. You got that, Travis? So there's organizations that set up standards along with vendors, along with major users, to say, let's set up a guidelines, let's set up standards that are best practices that we can follow, that we can be most secure. Do you get that, Travis? So even before we get to the specific framework, that you're not familiar with because you've never used that framework. It's what is the purpose? The purpose is help an organization protect their data. And even along with helping an organization protect their data, if there is some kind of breach, and what does it mean, Travis, about breach?
A breach is like it gets in. Like a breach is
Right,
like
it gets invaded. A breach would be, if I'm breached, it means somebody has gone through, let's say, my firewall. Somebody has opened up my door and come in there in my bedroom. That's a breach, right? If I think about it, Dominic, I don't want a stranger in my house, right? You don't want a stranger in your house and you don't know what it is. And not only that, I could have people that I know, right, Travis, be in my house and still do nefarious operations. Or I could have somebody in my house as a guest and they have no nefarious behavior, but guess what? They forget when I'm at work, I'll say, do me a favor, I'll give you my keys, but lock the door when you go out. And guess what? Unintentionally, they do what? They forget to lock the door. Could that be possible? Of course it is. Or myself, I thought I locked the door, but I didn't. Or myself, I left the key under the pot and somebody found it. Right? So that's the whole idea of the framework. So when you look, and let me just do this, when you share, and that's why I called on you, Travis, is I figured you probably were one of my students that did it. So if I look at that article, that's number 2 then, is according to this defined cybersecurity frameworks. If I look back at it, what do I want to do if I go back here? All right. Go here to my what's due is I have here on due March 1st. I want to go to this article, which I agree with you, that's a very important article to look at. And it basically talks about in higher education, what are the risks? Think about it, those best practices and frameworks. So when I look at key cybersecurity frameworks and standards, they basically, you could even look to other ways to look at ChatGPT and others. Tell me about why are cybersecurity frameworks and standards for higher education importance. This is what they do. They offer a structure for what? Thinking about how I can defend myself. Also tracking progress of how well I do. And then what's important is I have to communicate to this. If I think about it, Travis, we could have the best policies, but if nobody knows about it, what are they worth? 0, right? If you don't know what the university wants you to do to keep you safe, how are you going to do that? So in this case, they have certain frameworks that they have standards for colleges and universities. In this one, the NIST is widely used for guiding what is my strategy? Just like what is my business strategy? What is my cybersecurity strategy? And this is what you need. This is most important, Travis, to know. Are these 5 steps, Travis? So what does identify mean? Identify what could possibly be my threat. I have to protect it. when I get breached, I need to know when I got breached. If somebody enters my house, I have to know somebody entered my house. And then once I got breached, there has to be policies of the university to know how to respond. So for instance, if somebody then broke into our network, and basically what I think is what do I want to protect? Or let's say in this case, I want to protect credit card numbers from the students. Do you think that's important to protect, Hunter? Everybody's credit card numbers?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, not probably, for sure, right? So in that case, and what do I want to protect? I want to protect it. And then if somebody steals those credit card informations, how will I respond? One way I'll respond maybe is to let those people that their credit cards were corrupted or stolen, tell them about it. Another one is maybe to shut down that file. Another one respond maybe is to let banks know. And then another one is how can I recover? How can I be secure? Another one could be as basically getting your information, the health information. And the other ones, in terms of defining the standards, would be also universities then have to demonstrate strong data protection practices. And there's FERPA, which is the Family Education Rights, protects the privacy of student educational records. So what I have to do is what? I have to know that I have to know that that's important to protect student records. If not, I can be fined. And then how I can do it. Another one is Graham-Leach, which is if I hold financial information, I need to require what safeguards. Another one is in the cybersecurity maturity model. These are standards that protect what? Unclassified information and demonstrate how do you handle government-funded research. We have a number of departments that do research for the government. For instance, our marine science does submarine, how the water waves work in order to protect our submarines in war battle. Well, if we have that data, we certainly don't want that to be able to be taken away from other hands. A lot of people would like to break in just to find that data. And then we have to worry about vendors. That's designed to assess the security posture of third-party vendors. We got a lot of third-party vendors that what? Hold our data. Do you think the university holds all your Gmail data? No. Do you think the university holds all the payroll data on their premises? No. Do you think all of the parking information? No. What it is other cloud storages is. We use Blackboard. We use Canvas. They hold our data. They have your grades, right? They use financial for your financial aid. All of these vendors have to have acceptable security and privacy standards. So the university is not secure if their vendors are not secure. The university is not secure if the vendors they use don't practice proper security. And here in this one is GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulation. This deals with the European Union. The European Union, any student, faculty, or research that deals with the European Union, they have stricter guidelines for how you collect data, on personal data, on processing data, and collecting data. So if we're doing that, we have to match their standards. Does that help, Travis?
Oh yeah, helps a ton. Thank you.
Yeah. So you understand the whole reasoning, Travis, is the idea, give these institutions, in this case, the university, give us some standards and use those standards that all universities have. All universities have student data, they have faculty data, they have research data. So I want to use those, the family education, right? If I am a university, I have to follow that act. And what does it mean? I'm the steward. You know what the steward means? I'm the holder of data, and I have to be responsible to do that well. And as you as a student and me as a faculty member, we're expecting our institution to handle our data, not only with respect, but handle it well. And they are not in the business of handling data. So they're going to even need more guidance, and they're going to need more help to make it secure. And guess what? With AI, it'll be easier and easier to break into data. It'll be easier to find passwords. And once I get in through you and I imitate you, then I can maybe traverse the records and maybe get into the president's data, or maybe get into some other financial, or get into the payroll data, or maybe get into the hospital data and shut down a server. That's the purpose of having a framework. Does that make sense, Catherine? That the framework then is not just, oh, we have to follow some law. So when I was thinking about it, so Sophia, is that when you go to law school, you're following some law, but there has to be a reason why that law was created. And that law, right, Sophia, that law was created in order to help institutions in protecting their data. It's all about protecting their data. And after they're breached, right, Travis? What does breach mean? After some problem, then what are the methods are you going to do after that? Right?
Like once it gets in, like you recover.
Yeah, you first of all, you have to detect it. I have to identify it, right? I want to protect it because I know it's important. But then I need, if it's breach, how would I even know I'm breached? Do I even know? A lot of times I guarantee you, a lot of companies don't even know. Right? How would you know? Unless they wave to you and say, Dr. Rush, we stole your data. A lot of times they just don't, they take a copy of it, right? They're not, all of a sudden it is. Or I go to my bank and I see that I have no money. I used to have money. Right. Then I do it. But if I didn't even do it, my bank didn't call me. It's like my bank has to tell me there was a breach. The good thing about banks, a lot of times, if they're insured, I have insurance to transfer the risk. But sometimes I don't. But guess what, Travis? The university has cybersecurity insurance. Because if they do get hacked, and there's a good chance they will, is the idea that they can have insurance to pay for what? After I detect it, then I need to know, how am I going to respond? Right? What are the procedure? Who's going to tell whom? It's like 911, I got robbed. Right? You know kind of the procedure. And then what does it mean? The police have to come to your house, right? Write a report. And then you're saying, oh, I hope they get that guy. I hope they get that thief. And then they're supposed to report back. And then they're supposed to maybe publish it. But there's standards, because if we just say, hey, we put the data in, oh, I feel good. We have to set up rules and regulations to track it, to protect it, then identify when I get breached, and then recover. Just like I tell everyone here in the class, right? When we have a problem, what do you have to do? First, find what the problem is, then define it, right? And then how are you going to respond? What are you going to do? Sometimes I'll tell you, go, try it again, try a different browser. You remember all the steps you do for problem detection? It's the same type of thing. But here it's a framework for not for us individually, but for what we call enterprises. And it's usually set for certain enterprises have different rules. Financial institutions have more strict rules, right, than maybe other institutions, because guess what? Everybody's going to be broke. Right? They're really tough on financial institutions. They should be, because they're taking my money. I'm giving them trust that they're going to what? Keep my money safe and sound. And now digital, it's not that I'm just handing them the money, right? I expect them to have cameras if somebody goes into a bank, or they have a camera when I go to an ATM. But now I do everything digital. Nobody uses cash, right? So I need it still to be broken. And the university is also involved in cash into digital credit cards. Does that help? In terms of Sienna, when I'm talking about the idea of giving examples, that you understand it and you can make it into your own language.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And think about your own examples. And when you think about the own examples, like least privilege means what? That they should give me only the privilege I need to do my task. So do I have least privilege and you have least privilege, or only you have least privilege, Sienna?
We both do.
We both do. It just, I have different privilege. I have the least amount of my privilege to do my job. And you have the least amount of privilege to do your role in an information set. And when it's broken, what could possibly go wrong? If they give me too much?
Wait, someone just said something in the chat.
Okay. Would you recommend reviewing the end of chapter 10 quizzes or the adaptive? I do both, but I go through your quizzes. And how can you go through your quizzes? Did anybody go through the quizzes? Raise their hand if you went through your quizzes. How did you do it, Ava?
I just went onto my grades and then I clicked on each quiz and I just went through and could see
Perfect.
all the answers.
Yes, because after you go through it twice, you don't get access to it. So perfect. That's what I would do. So let's do this. I've invited Isa invited Sophia and my teaching assistants. I'm so grateful for them. And Sophia is a teaching assistant in training who was in my class last semester and had such a great attitude. And Lily, who was is my lead teaching assistant, said we should do something fun, that I'm not enough fun. So we should do something more fun that everybody doesn't fall asleep. So she said we should use Kahoot. Who has used Kahoot before? I guess even in parties. I used it in a party one time. So Sophia and Isa, you want to go over how we're going to do? We'll do a Kahoot and see if this will work. And the highest, we'll see who comes up. I guess there's a leaderboard. So we'll see who are the winners. So how do you want to go about doing this?
Yes, sure. I can host it. I'll share my screen, share the code. Just guys, please make sure you log in and put your first and last name so we can keep track of the scores and everything.
And also we'll do it for attendance as well. So we'll use this as attendance. So where do you want them to go?
They just have to, you can do it through the app, you can just do it through the website, or you can scan, yeah, literally right here. And then just enter the PIN and then first and last name, and then you're all good to go.
Okay, so we wait a second for everybody to do that.
I'll also put the PIN in the chat so I can stop sharing.
No, I like it when you share. Isa.
Oh, but then they can see the answer if I
Yeah,
share.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, to get everybody in.
What's the pin?
See? But I want to go by question, Isa.
Sure.
So is everybody on? I see 29 people on.
Yeah, we're missing 10, or I guess 8, 7 people.
Okay, because we're going to use it for attendance as well, Isa. So
Okay.
in this case, I'd like everybody put their last name too. Thank you, Sophia. And Sophia, if you want to say a couple of words here.
Yeah, of course. I think, well, since I already took this class, I think I would recommend you guys should just go over the study guide and maybe even ask ChatGPT to like answer some of the short answers, and then you can take the knowledge that you got from the class and add on to the answers. I think that's pretty helpful. That's something that I wanted to point out because that's something that I did. Having like an outline kind of ready for when you get to the test, it kind of helps you remember what to answer and like what key points you should put in for the short answers. I think that might be something that you guys want to do before the
Okay.
test. I found it helpful, at least.
Okay. All right, so how many? So we have 34.
I think
And
we're
there's
missing 2 people.
okay, so if they
For now.
don't want to do it, they'll miss it because we'll so how many people you have signed up?
33. Oh, there we go. We're missing only 1 now.
Okay, so we're missing one. That's fine. Okay.
You want me to
So
start it?
so let's start.
Okay.
So how much do we have per so we're gonna go question by question.
Sure.
So we got the first question and we have 20 seconds for each question, right?
Let me see. Yes, we do 20 questions.
But I'm saying 20 seconds. How much do we
Well,
have per question?
20 seconds. I meant to say second, yes.
Okay. Okay. So after the 20 seconds, let's see the first question.
I can't see the question. All I see is
I don't
Like-
see the question either.
Yeah, okay. Why don't we do
Yes,
this?
maybe I'll have to share it the whole time.
Yeah,
so we
share
see.
it.
Okay.
I think it'd be better. Also, sharing it is good for recording too. Okay. So is an unintentional threat. Okay, espionage is an unintentional threat, identity theft, social engineering, or software attacks. Okay, so how do we go about doing this then? What do we see?
I mean, do you guys understand the concept of unintentional threats when you were studying and looking through the PowerPoints, or do you need a little more guidance? I know this first question was weird because not everybody was able to answer, but
Okay, but why do we only have we only have 6, 7, 8, we only have 8 people that responded?
because they couldn't see the question before, so now they're gonna be able to see it going forward because
Oh
with
yeah,
the
let's do
sharing the
it going
screen.
forward. Okay.
Mhm.
So basically, we got to think about this since we see the problem. What does unintentional mean? Nika, what do you think unintentional means?
not on purpose.
Not on purpose. So espionage, if somebody's spying on you, right? They're doing it on purpose. Somebody trying to steal your identity. What is it, Nika? It's what? On purpose or not? It's going to be what? In this case, it's going to be, so unintentional means not on purpose. So Jessica, social engineering means what? That somebody's going to be basically trying to befriend you and you unintentionally, not on purpose, what? Share information. If I say, oh, can you do me a favor, Jessica? I just can't get in. Can you just, can I sign in for me here on my computer using your name, your username and password? Or somebody calls you and says, I'm from UM IT security. Can you please give me your username and password? And they're friendly to you. Unintentionally, you give that to them. Everybody understand that?
Should we say like is an unintentional response to a threat?
Yes, that's
Okay.
be better. Perfect. Excellent, Jessica. Extra credit for improving the question. Perfect. Let's go next. So we can, I think we should see it. You know what I mean? All right, next. Okay, hackers would use a botnet to perform what? Okay. Yeah, this is a better way. You see that, Issa? You
Yeah.
have to share the screen.
Yeah.
So hackers would use a botnet to perform what? So hackers are good. We need to know what a botnet is. So it's basically a number. We know what a bot is, and a net is a number of them. So what happened? And so what does DDoS mean? DDoS means distributed denial of service. So what they're going to do is they can get into our computer and then send a number of different bots outside. So in that case, a botnet is a number of different bots. And what are they going to do? They're going to distribute that for denial of service. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay. The most current form of ransomware demands in the form of. Okay, so we have what? We have 15. So what are they going to do? Ransomware means what? They're going to take over my computer. They're going to stop me from being able to get to my hard drive. And they're just like kidnapping. They're going to ask for some kind of remuneration. And in this case, everybody knows that it's going to be Bitcoin. They're not going to ask for cash. They're not going to tell me because they don't want to be found out. I'm not going to give them, they're not going to come to me and I'm going to give them, $20,000. And then I can take a picture of that. Okay, next. Okay, is a communications control. Okay. So this is communication. A company gate. We know a company gate would be what? It's going to be a physical. So what kind of control? Any type of threat, I need to do what? I need to control it. I may not be 100%, but I have to do my due diligence, like locking the door. So in this case, for communication, it's going to be then a firewall. Let's go to the next one. Databases do something to redundancy. Okay. Database is maximize, database minimize, database minimize, and database minimize. And then the same data are stored in multiple locations. Copies don't agree. Data are stored. So in this case is minimize the same data are stored in multiple location. Okay. This means, and versus my one where that do agree. So I want to minimize redundancy. Okay, next. Okay, so let's go to the answers as well. An individual who provides capital for a startup, usually in exchange for convertible debt or ownership equity. So it's an individual who can provide capital. Okay, angel investor. Let's go next. Most people got it. Because it's an individual rather than a whole venture. Okay, let's go to the is developed through learning and is the experience is developed through learning and is the experience and expertise that managers can apply to business problems. So it's developed through learning and is the experience and expertise manager can apply. So is that data, information, or knowledge? Okay, so basically it's knowledge. Most people did that. It's not all the above, right? Because data is just raw data. So anybody that says, hey, all of the above looks good, is they didn't read the question, right? It's the whole idea is what happens with knowledge, and you'll get a lot of questions on this on the exam, is the learning and the experience and the expertise that I'm going to put through your knowledge. So one of the things that you want is even you want your bots to have learn through the mistakes, and then you train those basically those bots. Let's go to the next one. How many questions are there?
30.
Okay, so let's go quicker. Yeah. Okay, IT changes managers' jobs by. Okay, IT changes the manager's job by improving an employee's sense of connectiveness, providing near real-time information, making it easier to get all employees to work from one location, decreasing the volume of information. One thing about multiple choice, it's easy. You can take out the outliers that don't make any sense. How? Let's go to the next one. This is a system that could help. Go ahead. Go to the question. Ready? The system could help a doctor make decisions about patient diagnosis. Okay, that's an expert. So basically, instead of, I could see a recommendation, but about the difference between recommendation and expert then could help the doctor make the decisions. It's not recommending. Okay, next. Which of the situation is synonymous with the phrase constant call? Okay, available 24/7. Okay, next. So go to the multiple choice, do that together with seeing it. Okay. One question that a company would ask when trying to implement new hardware that has been purchased is. One question the company would ask when trying to implement, and it's for how often should we upgrade? When should we get it? What hardware should we get? Which hardware would fit? Okay, so it's the upgrade purpose, because when we're buying hardware, go to the next question. When we're buying hardware, we want to look at it more than a couple of months. We have to pay for upgrades as well. So I want to see that also incorporating my task. Okay. Is an approach to managing information across the entire organization. What is an approach? Okay, so an approach, this is easy, and you want to manage that information across the entire organization. The key here is the approach. Okay, so data governance, right? We talked about that before. Next. 13. Okay, so 13 here is, we want to think about R is available at no cost to develop or users. So what is no cost here? And to developers or the users. And we talked about it before when we talked about really our chapter in software. So that's open source, right? It's not going to be then, in this case, open source that will be free. Open systems is not always free. But it's interesting. That's the next one. Let's go to the next one. Okay, and let's look at the art suggestion. So big data helps companies treat customers as individuals. Okay, this is called, we want to be able not to look at them as a whole, but we want to look at each one as an individual. So in this case, it would be that micro segmentation, which makes sense. Okay, next. Okay, is used to plan and control business intelligence activities. So is it, this is going to be, is used to plan and control then business intelligence activity. So what is going to be used for the planning stage? The key is planning is the K, and then again is governance. So that governance is the idea, how am I going to plan what's available to it? Okay, next. 17. Software is a set of that enable the hardware to process data. So it's software, and we're able, so basically what's going to enable the hardware to process the data. So is it documents, a set of documents enable, computer programs? That's the easy one. Let's go next. Next, manipulates the data and controls the task performed by other components. So what manipulates the data and controls the task performed by other components? So is that going to be AI, EDI, electronic data interface, the CPU, the central processing unit, or the enterprise resource processing? And then it's the CPU. We talked about that before. Let's go next. Okay, so we got which of the following, let's go next so we can do it. Which of the following is the primary storage? Remember we talked about this? Is it primary storage RAM, magnetic disk, magnetic tape, and SSDs that are, then some of these are secondary storage, and this should be, right, a given. We talked about that so many times, right? SSDs are secondary storage, not primary. Okay, next one. Go to, so we can start the timer, so we can finish. Okay, storage stores data and programs for future use. This is for future use. So what type of storage is for future use? So we have to think about future use is non-volatile versus volatile. What is non-volatile here, right? And in terms of non-volatile, we know that it's secondary storage, and we know that it's not primary. Okay, next. Okay, 20. Let's go quickly through it. Go to the answers. Inform users understand more about IT. Systems, careers, schools, events. I don't like that question. But anyways. So in this case, they want it to be systems, okay? All right, let's go next. 21. Let's go to see the choices. A company might choose a data mart over a data warehouse because the data mart, okay? So I need to know that they're both historical data that I'm going to try to do. So they're talking about the data mart. So the data mart basically supports local control rather than central control. Because I think about local is the data mart, then it's going to be more local. Okay, next. We finished? 22, we got one. Speech recognition software interprets human speech one word at a time. Discrete, conversational interpretation, or continuous. So in this case, where it's human speech, then it's taking each word of this type of versus discrete. Discrete means one. Next, not continuous. 23, phishing is an example of what? Let's go, right? Phishing is not with an F, but P-A, and it deals with security. So it basically is a basic example, what, of a software espionage, sabotage, or copyright infringement. Okay, it's a software attack. Let's go. 24, we have 6 more. Cyber criminals. Violent, can be easily arrested. Target known software security weaknesses. Don't make money, they do it for fun. Okay, so you always can take out the one that seems ridiculous. That's what I do. And then at least it raises your chances. Okay, so security weaknesses, that's why you have to strengthen them. That's why you have to know what your weaknesses are. Next, let's go. How many more? 5 more. Okay, let's see the answers. Is the possibility that the system will be harmed by a threat. Okay, vulnerability, an exposure, security, or a threat. Is the possibility that the system will be harmed by a threat. So I know already that if I look at it, that one is ridiculous, right? Threat is not good, right? Because it repeats but vulnerability, right? That I have next. So you want to read the question, you want to read the outliers too, take those away. Let's see the answers. Something is a remote attack needing no user action. So that no user action, I don't need to know anything and I'm going to be attacked. Right? I don't have to do something. Sometimes you have to click on something so it will basically initiate that attack. So denial of service attack. So denial of service attack, I don't need any. Okay, next. 27, why is using encryption? Let's go look at why is using encryption key important. An encryption key sends an encrypted data. An encryption key blocks encryption data. Encryption key authorizes encrypted data. An encryption key locks and unlocks encryption data. So why is that going to be important? And of course, it's the last one, that it's going to lock and unlock. That's why I want to do it. What's next? How many more? Okay. The goal of CAPTCHA is to basically, we've seen it all the time when we have the CAPTCHA. Why end up doing it? Is to hack into secure networks, protect the network against, ensure you aren't alien software, remove alien software from your computer. So one of the things that you want to do is why do they even have it? And in terms here is ensure you aren't any other type of software that pretends to be others. Okay, next. Okay, we have 2 more. Which of the following represents the major category of unintentional threats? So this is, again, what we talk about, unintentional. I didn't do it on purpose. So which of the following represents the major category of unintentional threats? That it wasn't done on purpose, as we were talking about before. So this one should be an easy one, human error, right? I didn't do it intentionally. I just clicked on that link. I didn't do it intentionally. I just let somebody else use my password. Okay, open SSL. We know what we're going to be talking about, secure socket layer. And then it's what type of software. So that idea of open, so is that going to be banking software, encryption software, hacking software, or free? So we have 5 more seconds. And in this case, encryption. Okay. And let's look at who are the 3. Wow. Zima, Travis, and who's number 1? Who is number 1? Ava. Wow. So you want to take a shot at that too for us? You can stop sharing. Do me a favor.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then be so kind and this will be used for then our attendance. You have the list then of everyone? Isa?
Yes, I do. And I have the screen
Okay.
as well.
Okay, so can you post the Zoom on, it's always on Blackboard. All the recordings are on Blackboard. Right? Under the Zoom recordings, they're always on Blackboard. Okay, so what did you think about that Kahoot? Dima, first of all, congratulations. Ava, congratulations. Travis, my top 3, right?
Wait, I meant, can you post the Kahoot on Blackboard?
Yeah, the Kahoot will be part of the recording. It's part
Okay.
the Kahoot is part of the recording. And then you're just gonna go to the end and just see those.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So congratulations to those 3. We'll do we'll have prizes for the top 3 when you finish your exam. Hopefully that will correlate right away that we can do it. Okay. So what you think of it, Catherine, doing the Kahoot?
I liked
Worth
it.
Okay. So give credit to Lily, the TA. That was her idea that we should do a Kahoot. Okay. Anything else? Any other last questions before we do? So this will be our attendance. We'll take this as the attendance for the Kahoot. Those that participate in that. That'll be your engagement. You know how we always talk, you have an engagement assignment. Anything else? Okay, so we're yeah, you can go through the Kahoot in the recording. Perfect. We've recorded it. We've recorded it in Zoom, so you can go through the recordings. Okay. So anything else we have? So everybody know what I suggest again is you go to SBA 204 the lab today, check out where it is, and then I'll see you in person on Wednesday. And Sophia, thanks a lot for coming.
Of course, Professor. Thank you so much for having
You're
me.
welcome. And stay with me if you have additional questions. I'll stop the roll. Stop recording. Okay, turn off companion.